Hey everyone, I'm Eric from Lonesome Reader, and I just want to make a quick video today giving my thoughts about the adaptation of Julian Barnes Booker Prize winning The Sense of an Ending into a film starring Jim Broadbent and Charlotte Rampling. I got to see a preview of this movie, and I'm not being sponsored to make this video. I just thought it'd be interesting to give my thoughts about the sort of book to film adaptation because I just reread the book recently. Now, I first read this novel back in 2011, and particularly because it's quite a short novel, I had trouble remembering much about the plot or ideas in it, so I thought I'd reread it before seeing the film. And I'm so glad I did because it is such a powerful novel. It's one of those novels which I think is going to continue to resonate as you reread it over the course of your life and have different life experiences. It's something I was talking about at the screening with the writer Isabel Costello, where we both found rereading it that it just really struck a different chord with us. The novel, in quick summary, is the story of Tony Webster, who recounts his early life going to university, his circle of friends, particularly his friendship with an intelligent young man named Adrian Finn, and his first serious relationship with a woman named Veronica. He recounts debates they had in the classroom about history and the ways that we perceive it. Adrian poses the theory that history is that certainty produced at the point where the imperfections of memory meet the inadequacies of documentation. And so the second section of the novel leaps forward in time to Tony's old age, when he's settled down and has this very certain sense of his own life. But something from his past is reintroduced into his life, or actually not reintroduced into his life, because there's a missing piece of documentation, meaning that he is only reliant upon his memories to understand the past, about what happened, about his relationships with other people. And this uncertainty causes him to question his whole being. So there's lots of interesting ideas in this book, and it's difficult to see how it was going to be made into a film because it's all told through Tony's perspective and it's all about his subjectivity. So how do you put that on the screen where you're just seeing this objective picture of his life? Also, I was quite nervous going into this film because I always find it really difficult if you read a book right before going to see a film. It's like you're just seeing that novel on the screen and the impact of the story is being decreased in some way. So those were my main issues going into the film. I was really curious about how they were going to creatively handle these challenges, and I found that really surprisingly watching this film enhanced my reading experience of this great novel. Because we're only in Tony's perspective in the novel, it's interesting to see the characters on the screen and their reactions to things, to get a better sense of what might be going on in these characters' minds. The film starts with Tony, played by Jim Broadbent, as an old man, and it's quite shocking at first because Tony in the novel comes across as quite likable because you see everything through his perspective and he seems like a fairly trustworthy character. But at the start of the film, Tony is a really prickly, unlikable character, and we get his past only in flashbacks as he struggles to remember what actually happened. It's an interesting role for Jim Broadbent, who in general just seems like a likable sort of person to play this prickly character. And Veronica, played in her old age by Charlotte Rampling, is this really steely, icy individual, so it's really perfect casting for her to play that character. Now, how I think this film creatively gets around this issue of the subjective narrator is in showing these scenes from the past. We're never really sure exactly what the characters mean. Like, there's quite a pivotal scene in the novel and the film when young Tony goes for a weekend visit to Veronica's family's house. And we see Veronica's mother, who says something quite provocative. And we see Veronica's brother, who says when Tony is leaving, he says to Veronica about Tony, "Oh, he'll do." And it's one of those lines from a social situation that I think we can remember, that we just sort of churn over and over in our memories, wondering, like, what did he really mean by that? Was he being jovial? Was he being friendly? Was he being sarcastic? Was he being cutting to me? And we begin to think about these things so much that the actual memory starts to change and morph and so we don't even really understand what happened anymore. And the film gave me this different perspective on the novel that I really appreciated. I mean, I think books and films are different mediums and should really do and say different things. Both the film and the book give a different slant on these really powerful ideas that Julian Barnes wrote about. The film does make a few little tweaks and changes from the story, but which are sort of necessary for telling the story on the screen. And I don't think it undercuts the essential meaning of what Julian Barnes was saying in the novel. The main negative thing I would say about the film is that it sums things up in quite a saccharine and sweet way, which the novel doesn't do at all. And I understand why they do that, because you have to show much more of a strong character arc in a film where somebody who starts unlikable comes around and becomes quite likable. But other than that, it's a really enjoyable and moving film. And unusually, for watching a film made from a book, it actually made me want to go back to the book and read it again, even though I just read it recently. It's funny how, as big book lovers, we can get really protective about books that we love when we hear that they're being made into films, because it's really scary wondering what they're going to do with this story that we love. But it's also really exciting when it gives this new interpretation to a story that we've experienced. So in short, I'd recommend you go see the film, even if you haven't read the novel for quite a while and don't really remember it. I think that might be better in some ways, because then you'll only gradually remember the story as the film goes along. After watching the film, I definitely recommend going back and reading the novel again as well. So let me know in the comments below if you've read the novel, and if you're interested in going to see the film, or if you've seen the film, what you think about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll chat to you again soon.